Hello, hello. Welcome to EDUT 523, week number two. Excited to have you, and I am so excited about this week. As I mentioned last week, this course has a pretty big redesign. The themes of it are pretty similar, but updated. It's really exciting. I'm so glad you're taking it right now. I'm going to be looking at my screen a little bit more like this since this is my first time going through it. So I've got all the content. I know what I'm going to say, but I used to be able to just like, if you took this year, I'd be like, we're doing this, this, and this for week number two. That's not the case this week. This week, we're looking at crafting cognitive friendly multimedia lessons. And it's really exciting. Let's jump right in. So, you have a handful of readings and watchings and listenings. There is a discussion board that talks about a time you something really stuck with you, something that you learned online. It was a video, a course thing, um, someone on social media. You're going to describe what you learned, where you found it, if you can track it down, and why it was effective. And you're going to try and connect it with one of the multimedia learning design principles that I'm going to talk about in just a minute. As a reminder, that initial post with an APA citation is due Thursday by midnight. Two thoughtful replies due Sunday by midnight. So I'll talk about your assignment last. Let's go through a little bit of the readings and the watchings. I'm not going to explain all of it because then what's the point in you looking at any of it? But Dr. Ramsey Masalam, who led the charge on reimagining this course, linked to one of his older blog posts about involuntary curiosity. I love that idea, involuntary curiosity. So the idea of it is, I just had it highlighted. I was going to read this one section. Um, Give me just a second. Here it is. So the idea of involuntary curiosity, he's quoting um, a pretty big paper by Lowenstein, where involuntary curiosity is something that happens spontaneously as a result of an unintentional exposure to a curiosity-inducing stimuli. Oh, talk about grad school work. Curiosity-inducing stimuli. That, if I could pick like, I don't know how we count hyphenated words if it's two or three words, maybe two words. Curiosity inducing stimuli. That, I mean, that's really like what so much of part one of this course is about. How do we do that? And how do we get students to be involuntarily curious? If there's ever a thing for high school teachers to like wrap their brain around, that is like the most succinct thing I have ever heard. And I love that so, so, so much. Um, so this pairs super well with the paper you're going to be reading, The Psychology of Curiosity. And the idea of this is that our job as teachers is to create information gaps. Like that's what curiosity is. It's a gap in information. And our job is to help fill in those gaps or create learning experiences where students can fill in those gaps. I think about it in terms of a vacuum, not the thing that you clean floors with, although that's what a vacuum is, but like in space or like a science experiment where like you create like a gap, but not just a gap, a vacuum. And there's if there's like a you start the vacuum and you like let go of it and like the thing like sucks into it, right? There's this like drawing of force where like you create that vacuum, there's no air here, and then when you like release it, the thing, right? So I think so much of what our job as educators is to create that vacuum, and then students or our learners, whoever they are, can't help but being drawn in. Um, and so for me, that's what that information gap is. And the other part of this that goes really well with the videos you're going to watch a whole playlist of videos, is that students feel safest when they're confident enough to explore. So it's that zone of proximal development that you might have learned about in life or in some of your other coursework, um, where like it's the just right challenge. Not too easy, not too hard. They're confident enough that they're like, yeah, I could do this, but not so confident they're bored and not unconfident enough that it's too hard. So the example for me that was me as a learner was in the last year, we got a digital mixer for audio for our school. I was like, all right, I'm going to learn this. I know about recording in Logic Pro and Pro Tools and GarageBand, right? So it's like the digital audio workstation. I know about analog mixers where like you plug a mic into channel one, you push up on channel one and the volume on channel one goes up. If you want to roll off the low end, you grab the low mixer and knob and twist it down and the low end goes down. Like I know analog mixer, I know digital workflows for audio like Logic and GarageBand. So I'm like, I think there's a Venn diagram moment in the middle where it's like digital audio but mixer. And so I actually worked with ChatGPT to learn all of the things. Watched a couple videos. It was really like building it out with ChatGPT. And for me, it was that zone of proximal development where it's like, I'm confident enough, I can explore. It was definitely not easy. It was not easy. And it also wasn't so hard that I just kind of abandoned it. Um, Part of the other part of the psychology of curiosity that you're going to be reading, it's a pretty dense paper. Give yourself some time for this, is the idea of creating either puzzles or cognitive conflict. And the idea, big picture, is that this is like a mystery, like an unfolding story. Like if you've watched The Residents on Netflix, Shonda Rhimes' new thing with the what's her name as the lead. Um, anyway, amazing cast, really good. Like who done it? I'm not big on like the murder mysteries. This was so good. And the idea was like every episode, like the story unfolds. There's a new part, there's a new twist, there's a new character we meet, right? So I'm not expecting your classrooms to be as well produced as the 7 episodes of The Residents, but the idea is that it's this mystery and like here's the next thing, here's the next thing. um, that's a big thing. The other big part of this is that students again are feeling safe enough and then competent enough, and so your role as teacher is to actually help orient them, being like here's your current knowledge and here's the new knowledge, and you're giving places to attach the new knowledge to the existing knowledge. So it's job of kind of host. Let me show you around, to the knowledge. The other big part of this week is a handful of videos. These are going to be tied into the assignment you're going to be doing pretty significantly. So they are Mayor's 12 multimedia principles, and I'm going to group them for you into kind of three chunks. So the three chunks are going to be reducing cognitive overload, managing essential content, and then boosting meaningful learning. And so each of these 12 multimedia principles are really simple. I'm going to give you just so you can kind of hear it and go, yeah, totally got it. And then you definitely want to watch and get some more details with it. So when we talk about reducing cognitive overload, the idea is to give our students the just right amount of knowledge. And this plays out in 5 or 6 different ways. So the first way we reduce cognitive overload is with coherence. And so what you're showing students, if you're doing a screen recording, or if you're doing slides, if it's in person, or if you're like recording a video and pointing to a thing, is to remove anything distracting. Only show what you need to show. The second way we can reduce cognitive overload is signaling using visual clues. So, like bolding text, having arrows pointing to key things when we're showing visual students, that matters a lot. Redundancy is the third way we can reduce cognitive overload. This is where you don't narrate and show the text. You pick one. This is why if I'm in a meeting or PD or at a conference and someone starts reading the slides, I immediately check out. I'm like, dude, first of all, I can read faster than you can speak. Second of all, it's this principle of redundancy. Don't read and speak. Pick one. I can definitely like go on a rant about that one. The next one is around spatial contiguity, where the idea is that images and the words go together. You don't want like image, and then like a paragraph of text around it. or like image, 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 lots of text describing it. It's like image, text, image, text, image, text. And then similarly is the temporal contiguity where the visuals and the narration happen at the same time. All right, so that's ways that we, when we're creating multimedia content for our students, we can reduce cognitive overload. The second big bucket is managing essential content. So the idea, first principle, and this is one that I strongly stand by, and I'm going to reinforce a lot with assignments you're creating is segmenting, breaking lessons into short, digestible parts. So for assignment number one, you're going to make about a 1 minute video. I think it might say 1 to 4 minutes. I'll take a look at the rubric soon. Uh, but short, like don't give me a 10-minute video. I will not watch a 10-minute video. That's not how people learn. Short, like 1 to 2 minute clips is what you want if you're doing video. Also, I'm noticing that my videos are longer, but I'm also giving like a whole overview. I'm not teaching a lesson, right? If I were doing just a lesson, being like, and now I'm going to teach you about Mayer's 12 multimedia principles, my videos are going to be less than 4 minutes every time because you want to segment. The next part is pre-training. And we know this from like pretty standard like pedagogy practices, right? Introducing key terms, key concepts before we dive into the complex ideas. And then finally is the modality is to narrate the visuals instead of adding text. I personally go overboard with this. I try and make my presentations almost all visuals, which is not as effective, but I will try and do a whole presentation if I'm doing like an hour-long conference presentation with just visuals and then try and add sparse text just to reinforce that. But the idea is that you're narrating those visuals and not just reading the text, which again goes into redundancy, which is where you don't narrate and show the text. And then the last big bucket is to boost meaningful learning. And so the four parts of this is multimedia with pictures and words, personalization, where you're speaking in a conversational tone, which is something when I'm making these videos that I work the hardest on because when I've taken similar courses and it's a screen recording and somebody is reading the script, I can't like I check out immediately and despite really trying to understand it, um, I can't because we're missing that personalization. It's not a conversational tone. Very similar to that is voice. Using a human voice is kind of natural, not synthetic, where you're really trying to read a script. And then the last one is image, and there's choices here, right? Your face doesn't have to be in the video unless it supports the learning. Because we meet 100% online, I've made the choice early on to just have a video of my face because a lot of what I talk about, you can just click on and look. So like as I talk about assignment number one, which is a great transition. You can just click on assignment number one in a new tab and hear me talk. You can look at me talk. You can look at it while I talk. Um, but again, for me as a learner, I don't like it when an instructor's face is in the corner and then they're screen sharing. Like, dude, like I can click on assignment number one. I don't even need you to share your screen. But I know for some people, it's really important to see your instructor, your teacher's face. And since we aren't meeting in person ever, we're never in a room, we're never on a call together. I've made the choice early on just to like have it be just me talking. I'll reference the thing. So now let's practice. Let's go and look at assignment number one. It's case study number one, engage by design. So the idea of this is that you're preparing a new unit that you're going to teach. As a good teacher, you want your students to be excited. You want them to be kind of hooked from the start. You want them to be curious. You want them to be excited. You want them to be ready. And so the idea of this, you're going to create an instructional video based on kind of that premise. Your goal is to think about your actual students that you're going to teach in the fall or that you might teach in the fall. You're going to pick an area that needs something special. So it's either something that's always confusing, something that you kind of skim over, something that students kind of get stuck on, or something that's just like super important for the rest of the learning to follow. So that one spot that's like, I wish I had, that's going to be how you're going to choose that content topic. And then you're going to think, how are you going to do this? What's that curiosity spark? Do I have a fun fact? Do I have a visual? Do I have a story? Do I have like you always thought it was this, but it's actually that. Like the one thing that led me to learn a lot actually about like the moon and outer space is that I thought the moon would rise as the sun would set, like in a cartoon, like on a wheel. Like if I like hold headphones, like this is the moon, this is the sun. So like as the sun rises, the moon sets. As the sun sets, the moon rises. And that's not at all how it works. But at some point I was just like, huh, why is that? Is it just because of those cartoons where it's like sun and moon? And for years, that was something I misunderstood. So, like, is there a way you can be like, hey, you thought this, but actually that? Or have you ever wondered about this? Or let me show you what happens when I shake this empty water bottle. Nothing. Or is there something, right? Like, what's the hook to get them excited? Um, and the idea is to like invite them into the learning and not just be like, this is important because air pressure important. You're going to think about how to teach this using the multimedia principles we just talked about, those 12 multimedia principles that Mayor came up with. Um, you're going to be going through that. Where did my Google Doc go? And then you're going to create your video, probably using screencasting. So probably Google Slides, probably Screencastify, but kind of whatever you want. The timing of it needs to be 1 to 3 minutes. So at least a minute. Do not make it over 3 minutes. That's really important. If you find yourself at the 4 minute mark and you're halfway there, stop, get it tighter. We just started The Bear season 4. It is so, so good. And we have a new expo person, and I'm not going to spoil it, but it was like, you have to make this pasta dish in 3 minutes. And so Tina was there, like making her pasta dish 5.5 minutes. And she was like, throw it away. I mean, feed it to me. Throw it away, redo it. 5 minutes. Throw it away, redo it. 4 minutes, 50 seconds. Throw it away, redo it, right? Like you don't have to make it again and again. Maybe you do have to make it again and again, but it needs to be tight enough that it's between 1 to 3 minutes. Um, it needs to include at least five of those multimedia principles, and then you're actually going to link to it. The template you're going to copy from shows you the timestamp and then the multimedia principle. So you really need to be intentional about, all right, I'm going to use signaling here. And so like it's really obvious that I have an arrow at 1 minute, 10 seconds. I'm going to talk about coherence and just really make it a slide without distractions here. Some of those, as long as they're good slides that are strong visuals, are going to cover almost all of these almost all the time, but you actually need to call out timestamp principle for five of those, at least five. So think about that. Maybe that might help you pace and build your slides. That becomes a challenging task, right? So don't just kind of wing it for the video and then figure out how you're going to do that. You really need to have those visuals and be intentional about how those multimedia principles inform what your visuals look like and what you say. So that is the assignment. There's a lot to cover this week and a lot of things that are really foundational kind of moving forward. So that's why this video is a little bit longer. Also, when I was looking at what all the assignments are, I was just like, ooh, this is a lot. This feels a little overwhelming. So hopefully by me kind of guiding you through what it's going to be a little bit less overwhelming. And that is all for week 2. Really look forward to your videos, and I think you're going to love all the content. It's good stuff.